If you're a fan of Mitch Rapp and thrillers, you know Vince Flynn. Vince is one of the best thriller writers out there today, probably the Tom Clancy of our generation, and it's always great to have him on because he's pretty outspoken on just about everything, and his opinions are usually right on. Vince Flynn, how are you, sir?
Good, Glenn. How are you?
Very good. The Last Man is out, and it is a terrific read. Terrific book.
Thank you.
Really good. And I want to talk to you a little bit about it because I think there's some parallels on some things that are maybe happening right now. I mean, I'm reading this thing, Vince, and I'm like, what when did you write this? Yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, you really have nailed a few things.
You know, it's funny. You sit down, you try to write these, and the previous two books, as you know, were prequels. I wanted to go back and write about how Mitch Rapp was recruited and trained, and I was missing that forecasting that I like to do when I write, where I sit down and I get out the crystal ball and I try to climb inside people's heads and I try to figure out what's going to happen next. And so even though there's room for two more prequels, I said, I want to get back to the here and now. So I looked at the landscape and I said, here's the big issues that I see, other than, take Iran and Israel off to the side and all that stuff that's going to continue to be an issue for as long as I'm alive. And I looked at Pakistan and Afghanistan, and a tactical retreat out of Afghanistan wasn't going to be an easy thing. So I started writing about the green on blue violence, before that started popping up. I've got a high-ranking military officer having an affair with a State Department employee, an FBI agent who has it out for the CIA.
Really? Hang on just a second. Because I'm reading this and I'm like, come on, man, come on. Did you really did that just come out of your head, or did you know anything?
Well, I hear things. I know things are going on. I mean, this Benghazi deal it's crazy. I sit there, I've been in all these situation rooms. I've been in the situation room at the White House. I've been in the Ops Center at Langley, DOD. I haven't been in the one at the State Department. There's another one out at the Counterterrorism Center. They collect enormous amounts of information. They were watching things real time that night. There doesn't need to be an investigation. I mean, I'm telling you, these people...
There is no investigation.
They knew what was happening in real time.
The only thing they're doing right now is doing what they did with Monica Lewinsky, dragging it out.
Run out the clock.
Right, until people are just like, I don't care anymore. That's what they're doing.
And then and I'll tell you, where the Petraeus deal gets really interesting is... he's a different bird. We don't have to get into all that. He's highly intelligent, very successful. I do think he's a narcissist, which is not. He's not the first four-star general to be a narcissist. We've had a lot of good four-star generals that are like that, but eventually they get themselves in some trouble. What ended up happening with him was he saw what they were doing, how they were trying to blame the CIA, because the CIA is muzzled. They can't run out and hold press conferences. And the State Department's running around leaking all this stuff, and they're trying to make it seem like it was Langley's fault. Well, Glenn, here's the thing that nobody... I'm shocked how many reporters in Washington don't understand this. The CIA has never been and never will be responsible for the security of an overseas mission. It's not their job. And in fact, the ambassadors and the State Department people can be real jerks about this. I was at a country in the Middle East a few years ago, and we went shooting one day at the Royal Rifle Range with the king of that country. And one of the CIA
I've done that too. And Pat, you've done that, right? You were there last week.
If I had a nickel for 3 times last week alone.
Yes, you'd have 15 cents just for the week.
Yeah, just for that one week. I got a little too heavy with the .50 caliber, and it climbed over the berm, and I thought the rounds were headed towards the palace up on the hill.
Oh, yeah, me too. When I was with the king, remember? That happens to me all the time. Anyway, go ahead.
So we go out to dinner that night. We get into the armored Toyota 4Runner.
Yeah.
And one of the guys who was shooting with us, a clandestine service officer, is retired Navy SEAL. He starts telling me and the station chief that the ambassador reamed him out for checking out his M4 weapon without getting approval from the ambassador. That's how tight these places are. They are run by the State Department. The State Department protects them. The State Department approves everything. They are often not very nice to the CIA. So what happened in the roll-up to Benghazi is people at the State Department blew it. They blew it in more ways than we can begin to count, and they didn't even bother to sit down with the Pentagon and say, listen, you know what, we're not going to give them this extra security, but we might want to put a contingency plan together just in case. And then here's the big question, Glenn, that I'm just shocked that nobody is asking. Why, on 9/11, does our ambassador leave the fortress-like embassy in Tripoli and go to Benghazi with it's a very lightly defended consulate with a minimal security detail? Why? Nobody has bothered to even ask that question, and I think it's key with how everything fell apart that night. So you can't blame the Defense Department, you can't blame CIA, but you sure as heck can blame State and the White House.
It's gun running. We're gun running over there.
Oh, I don't know.
No, come on. What do you think it is?
I'm trying to stay positive. I've heard some rumors as to why he went, and I'm not going to be the one that's going to float those because they're only single sourced and they're secondhand. But it's a logical question to ask. If he was afraid for his life, and he knew that Benghazi was a trouble spot for these terrorist groups, why on 9/11 does he get in a SUV with 3 bodyguards and that's it, and go to Benghazi? It doesn't make any sense.
We are we're gutting our military right now. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
We're gutting them.
Well, it's been 10 years of attrition. We're not doing a good enough job of replenishing.
I mean the leadership. We've lost 4 stars and an admiral in the last 60 days. We are somebody's cleaning house.
No, Glenn. See, this is where I'll disagree. They're gutting themselves. These are self-inflicted wounds, and you spent enough time around these guys. A lot of them are impressive. You don't become a 4-star general, by being a moron. Although I question some of the behavior of these guys that has come to light the last couple of weeks. They're acting more like high schoolers on Facebook than they are, 4-star generals with very high security clearances. We live in a day and age now where we want to try to explain away every immoral behavior on the planet. And the truth is, that's a bunch of crap. These guys have adjudicated over men and women under their command for 30-plus years, and they have removed them from command for doing exactly this. They knew what they were doing, and it was wrong. I don't want to get into this game of,
hang on just a second.
Ike did it, These guys are supposed to be better than politicians. We expect it out of our politicians, unfortunately.
I'm not making excuses for them at all. I'm just saying, for instance, do you not think that Barack Obama and his team knew that what they had in Petraeus? They knew he was having an affair. They used him and manipulated him, and Petraeus made his own bed. Petraeus was wrong, but the White House knew, and they quite honestly, they're working like any old Cold War operative would. They find somebody that has something they can use, manipulate, pressure point. They use them and discard them when they're done.
Yeah, now that's possible because the word I had heard a few years ago was there were all kinds of rumors that he was being considered as Romney's VP pick. And so what Axelrod and the White House did was brilliant. They took him out of circulation. They pulled him out of CENTCOM and they threw him into the CIA. And at that point, he now can't comment on anything. So it doesn't surprise me, like you say, that this Chicago group, they're as tough as it gets. Ruthless when it comes to politics. It's a bad deal.
If there's a fiction writer out there that could clearly just see the future and write it in his book, surely somebody at the CIA that is maybe on the administration's side to make sure that the administration isn't blindsided by some scandal surely could have gotten that information to the president's people.
Well, do you believe for a second that Eric Holder didn't just say to him one morning during breakfast, hey, by the way, I had heard the rumor just before it broke. So Washington was abuzz with this rumor. And I find it really hard to believe that Holder didn't at least mention it to him. Hey, you know what? Your director has got himself in some hot water. And I do think that leads into this whole Benghazi fuzzy little. They're not terrorists. It was inspired by this stupid video that 300 people watched. The whole thing is hard to stomach. And I'm most disappointed, as you are, in the press. They have become, I don't know what they do anymore, other than just sit there and smile at him and think that he's the Messiah.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, it's Chris Christie with the storm. It's FEMA with the storm. Where are they on the storm? Look what they did to George W. Bush. Look at where they are on the storm now. We had Mercury.
Listen, if Bush was in office, every network would be parked out in front of the last house that didn't have power, and they'd be screaming bloody murder.
Yeah.
And instead, it's like we forget. Sandy was, it ended a week ago because Manhattan got power, and now we've moved on.
No. They've moved on because the election is over.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's it. The election is over. They used it to make him look good, and now it can only make people look bad, and so they move on. It's insane. The what's happening with the press is criminal. But that's why we're here, and that's why, quite honestly, I think people like you are important because you provide the embedded information, just like Will and Grace. They say that's the most important thing that could have happened for the gay rights movement because it was a good, entertaining story that made the case. Well, here you go. That's exactly what Vince Flynn does all the time. That's what, you read his books, and quite honestly, when you read your book, especially The Last Man, it's absolutely great. When you're reading...
Glenn, you try to do the same thing. And let's just take a giant step back for a second. The formula is not complicated. The villains are the terrorists, okay? The secondary villains are politicians, lawyers, reporters, and bureaucrats. They are the problem is not our men and women in the military. The problem is not special forces. The problem is not FBI, typically Secret Service. These are honorable people trying to do the right thing. It's these other groups that are causing all these problems, and it's not hard to spin that into a morality tale, which is what we try to do, and do it in an entertaining way.
Well, that's what storytellers have done. You know what? Quite honestly, this is what, and I just can't believe they're winning because it's so hard to win when you don't have the truth on your side at all. I mean, it becomes really truly
difficult.
fiction.
And then I'm sure you heard Rush's take on the deal, which they voted for Santa Claus. I don't know how else to look at it.
I think people not only voted for Santa Claus, but they voted for. They're tired. They don't want to look at it anymore. They want to believe that the world is, not on the brink, and they want to believe, it's the same thing that happened in 1939. In 1939, the world was at the brink, and nobody wanted to look at it. Americans just didn't want to look at it. Now, whether or not we'll be able to rise to the occasion when things get dicey is another story. But one of the only places you can get the truth now. Outside of the, in the media, I don't know where you get the truth. But one place you can get the truth and you'll actually cheer. In the opening few scenes when Mitch is standing there in Pakistan in the dirt bag that the CIA has co-opted.
Yeah.
And he gives the speech like where everybody else is, the State Department, everybody else is kissing his butt. And it's a terrorist. And Rapp just dresses him down and says, "You're a piece of crap. I know who you are, and I'm going to shoot you in the head. And here's exactly what you're going to do. And if I don't like it, I'm going to shoot you in the head." I mean, honestly, that's the kind of truth that you just don't hear anymore.
No, and I typically don't like talking about it with millions of people listening. Excuse me, the bronchitis is kicking in. Oh, yes. My gosh! Could Pat please do some Al Gore for me for a second while I gather myself?
now just a little Al Gore to distract you.
It's our SUVs that are causing this kind of bronchitis. There was never bronchitis among major authors until climate change.
It's one of my favorite things in the world.
The earth hath a fever, and so does Vince Flynn.
If I was in a room right now with both of them, I'd tell Vice President Gore, okay, you stop. He does better Al Gore than you do. That is better.
Vince, good to talk to you, man. And how are you feeling?
You know, Glenn, I feel great. Scans, numbers, everything looks good. On the cancer front. This darn bronchitis is just—it's kicking me. But I'm going to rest the next couple of days, enjoy Thanksgiving with the family, and all will be well.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You work out, you eat right, you're in shape, yada yada yada. Look at you. I haven't worked out a day in my life. Huh?
What are you talking about?
I eat wrong. I eat McGriddles. I don't work out. I have milkshakes.
Keeps you healthy.
Wrong. The last time we talked, you changed that all around, or did you go right back to it?
No, I went right back to it.
I went right back to it.
You went right back to
About
it.
8 months into it, I went back to it. And
Are you serious?
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn.
And I'm a happy man. I'm a happy man. All right. Look at me. No bronchitis.
Mm-hmm.
How's
And
that
your
one?
lovely bride?
She's great. She's great.
She's okay with this choice of going right back to the McGriddle.
You're starting to break up a little bit. I can't hear you. Can't make that out. God bless, Vince. I'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Vince Flynn, and the name of the book here is, what is it again? The Last Man? I don't have it. I have it on my iPad here. Yeah, The Last Man by Vince Flynn. Great book. And